All right. So, I mean, as they work this out, I guess I can have a longer monologue. Um, where's Yoshi? This is the part where you close your ears.
Is this
How
on?
many people know what BDE is and do not shout it out? Just with a raise of hands, tell me what BDE is. What do you think BDE is?
But you said don't shout it out.
But don't shout it out. No, just by a show of hands, let me know who knows what BDE is.
Like 7 people.
7 people. All right, because I'll be talking a lot about BDEs tonight. So I'm gonna just dive right into it. Somebody asked me how did I meet Travon, and it was very quick. Sarah Elizabeth Lewis
Yeah.
invited us for lunch, brunch,
Yeah, late lunch.
and the only thing she said was, "I have somebody for you to meet, and when you meet this guy, he's gonna be your friend forever." Instantly. It was instant. We connected instant. Well, for me,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know what I'm
For
saying?
me too.
You
It
know what I'm
was
saying?
it was love at first sight.
Let me speak for myself. You know what I'm saying? But ever since we've met, there have been times that we've spoken. We always talk after 2 o'clock. And every time we've spoken, it has always run the gamut of something that's funny and something that is working out. Oh, wow. Let me test. All right, so let me go because it's time. So why BDE? I want you to think about what BDE is. If you know what BDE is, it's easy. It's just because my son is in the room. It's Grande Richard Energy. Did I do a good job? Yeah. All right. So I've been in Cleveland for the past 3 months, and it has changed the entire way how I shoot. And I could sit here and like that would be a whole nother talk about what is it about Cleveland that has changed. I mean, I can just tell you that 900,000 people used to live in Cleveland. There's now 396,000 people living in Cleveland. And between East Side and West Side, there's just that. Just I lost my oh, it's there. And so I shot this 4 or 5 years ago, and I don't think I would have ever used it as a starting image if it wasn't for Cleveland. And so, again, keep BDE in your head. It's like the sun. It's right there. The first word I learned when I moved to the States was the word assimilation. And you're like, why is that word so special? My accent. So I can sit down and tell them about what I'm going to show you, and you're not going to understand what I say. I had to learn how to do this. And so, as I made my way through this country, I realized that the way I am as a Jamaican had to be tweaked if I wanted to be understood. And as I sat back, I realized that it wasn't just my accent or my words that I had to assimilate. I had to I have notes. Let me read what I wrote. One of the first words I learned when I migrated to the US was the word assimilation. You would think it would be Nike or Subway or even apple pie. But it might as well have been because everything that was not Jamaican felt like it was being pushed down my throat. That said, you see, I've learned who I am as a man through photography. And my fearlessness comes from that place. Nothing grieves me more than hearing somebody say they do not see color. And there's a little adage to that. Nothing grieves me more than hearing a photographer say he or she doesn't see color. Um, because the camera we use, the digital camera especially, has a function, an RGB function, in the menu that you sometimes, most cameras, you have to press, you have to choose RGB. So the camera you use is telling you that you have to process color. Yet you're gonna look at me in my face and tell me, I don't understand what you're on because I don't see color. And it's conversations like this that had me sit back and go, if I am going to make my way through this world, I'm going to have to create the images that I would like the world to have conversations about. And that's when the word weapon came up. So if you think about weapon, you're either going to be, and this might sound crass, a killer, or you're defending your life. Now, in some stages, in some spaces, my black skin might appear to somebody in uniform to be the former. I have learned as a photographer that my black skin is something that I have to defend myself against, which is weird. You would think that, it would be easy to make your way through a world where everybody was supposedly conscious. But get back to this. This was photographed in Virginia. Blackhead signpost. Can anybody make a stab at what that means? What the sign is advertising? Indian tribe. Anybody else? Anybody else? You're like right in the park hitting those balls. And posted them on signposts. So this is on the route. This is a picture that was shot en route between Cabin Pond and Jerusalem. Do those two names mean anything to anybody? Nat Turner started his insurrection planned the insurrection in Cabin Pond, ended up in Jerusalem. And along this route, anybody, according to his great-great-great-great-grandson, everybody was drinking. He was kind of like, if I'm going to go kill some people, I got to numb this. And so those drunk people that the white folks came upon, their necks were chopped off. And they were stuck on these posts and left there as a warning. And I remember when I was photographing this image, a van pulled up, a white guy came out, and he goes, "Hey, you like those signposts, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, if I got $5 for every time somebody see that signpost, I'll be a rich man. And so as the anger grew, Nat Turner, great-great-great-great-grandson, said, do not do anything, because this is theirs. You'll get lost in this. Go back to that BDE word, because you guys thought it was something else. It's black demonstrative energy. That's the thing that I had to assimilate. I had to get rid of. My black demonstrative. Vivian knows that Jamaicans are supposed to be, quote unquote, the most aggressive people in the world. We talk with our hands, and you hear our accent, it's like we're ready to chop up some people. That energy, I had to quell. And every time I use it, I get an email from somebody saying, you're burning bridges, bro. And so my photography, now I can start there. Click. Look at this now, skipping. My photography became this word, my defense. I wouldn't even use weapon, my defense. Defense in the sense that I want to introduce you to my world in a way where you see your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your niece, your dad. And the only way I thought I could do this was to be up close, to get personal, to be less defensive, to be as vulnerable as possible. And I quickly, what's missing from this picture? Simple as that. Men. And what that does to a family. Maybe it wants me closer, so I'm gonna exercise my old bones and get over here. Photographed this guy in Newark, New Jersey, and I went over. He was at his they're at breakfast, and I asked him what he was teaching his son, and he said, "I'm teaching him from now how to defend himself." And again, I want you to understand that this word weapon, it is not just something that black folk take upon themselves as a word that we use willy-nilly. The idea that you have to defend yourself and defend yourself, start to teach your 4-year-old how to defend themselves while living in Newark, New Jersey. I'm driving from Newark. This is somewhere between Newark, Jersey and Newark and New York. And this guy runs up to me. The image for me is I know it's here. This. Over his shoulder. And I've always wondered, how do you take care of a family on incense, dollar incense and dollar candy? What does that do to your manhood? Again, driving in Newark, New Jersey, and came upon this church where all these parents were grieving because they had lost a child. And every one of these t-shirts represented a child with his name on it. Walked into this woman's house in New Iberia, Louisiana. It's a shrine. Again, the idea of defense, I have completely teared down the BDE. It's now night. I've gotten rid of the BDE theme, so you guys can remove the BDE from your mind. I walked into her house, and it was a shrine. It was like a civilized shrine, her own shrine that she used to cloak herself. Why? I remember she said there was a time when everybody in New Iberia were either lawyers, doctors, somebody who was professional, and the KKK ran them out. And then she introduced me to this woman who was a retired soldier who said that as a little girl growing up, she always saw these cylindrical cones in her backyard. She asked her father, what was this cone? And the father was like, don't ask me anything about it. She said the older she got, she kept insisting, what are these cones? Father said, do not hear me. Hear you ask another time about it. Quick, fast forward, father dies. First thing she goes to City Hall, she questions what these cones are. These cones are drill holes that Exxon and all these other oil companies used to come to their community of New Iberia, drill oil, and use the KKK to silence the people. She said the most hurtful thing about this was when they went to school and they saw all the white kids. They used to congregate in the school and say, our parents ain't shit. She said, those were my words. Only to find out that my father was being silenced. And his kids were being threatened if he had said anything about it. Cairo is another community like Cleveland where, I guess we can just keep jumping. This is what this guy sees every day. He's one of the brightest kids in his school. And one of the questions I asked him was, how do you wake up every day and excel? And he said, all I have to do is to look at these boarded up houses and know that I do not want to spend, if I can spend one more day in these houses, more than I have to, and education is the way out, that's what I'm going to do. This is still Cairo. I'm trying to make sure. Oh, I don't see the time.
It's on the screen.
Okay. Okay, what? I'm doing well. This father was told that his son, who was handcuffed in the back of a trooper's vehicle, let me repeat that. He was handcuffed in the back of a trooper's vehicle, was shot twice in his chest. This father was told that his son was reaching for a gun that was in the front of his trousers. That was the explanation that was given to him when he went to look at his son. Did everybody just heard what I said? Yes. He was handcuffed in his back, and the trooper wrote in his report that his son was reaching for a revolver in his front, and that's why he got 2 shots in his chest. 53206, 53205. Google it. The worst zip code in America. What does his T-shirt say?
Home of the brave.
Say it again.
Home of the brave.
532. That's where he grows up. That's where he's growing up. The worst zip code in America, and that's the T-shirt he's wearing. That's what he's using to protect himself. I remember I was having a hard time getting images in Milwaukee. And his name is Bud. Photographed this picture. I was depressed on two reasons. I wasn't getting the images I wanted, and it was just sad. 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, there were prostitutes walking out to work. There was people taking opiates in front of me, 7, 8, 9 in the morning. And I went to a mall, and I sat down, and I was, those mall benches, and I just spread out on the mall bench. And in front of me were two stores, Clark's and some way to print T-shirts. And I went and I bought a pair of Clark's. And then I came out and I sat back on the bench and I downloaded Bud's picture, and I went to the shop and I printed Bud's face, that same picture, on a black T-shirt that said 53206 matters. And I wore it the next day. And that evening, I'm at a garden, one of those, when the community comes, a community garden. We get those in our communities. Somebody downtown believe that the best thing for urban planning is a community garden, or a mural that says dream. Something like that. And I'm there, and I see this crowd coming down the street. And I'm like, you can tell as an outsider when they're coming for you. Because everybody else is still going. And they're like transfixed in your... So I start to find a little wall to back up in. And I see a woman meander through the crowd, and she walks up to me and she goes, "Did you photograph my son?" And I'm like, yeah, but I was looking for his mom. She goes, tears. She said, everybody in the community is talking about your T-shirt. That somebody from New York came to Milwaukee and realized that 53206 matters. She made 2 calls, and for the entire week and a half, I could go anywhere I wanted in Milwaukee. Anywhere, any story. There were drug deals happening in front of me. And I was like, brother, do you need me to step? No, you good. We need 5 kilos of that. And I was like, yes, simple gesture. I was protecting myself. That T-shirt was my weapon. Weedy started to follow me this week. I photograph gangsters in Chicago, maybe 3 years ago. Weedy has never followed me until I was in Cleveland last week, and I woke up and I just saw Weedy. Weedy da 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 da. And he liked this picture and put a big black heart on it. And I double tapped it. Time Magazine interviewed me and asked me, why is it that when we send you to Chicago to photograph gang members, you didn't bring back any gang members? And I said, because I didn't see any. I saw some dads, saw some brothers, saw some uncles, saw some nephews. If the gangster turned up, I would have photographed the gangster. But that's what I saw. And I remember the editor smiled. Weedy, in this picture, I'm sitting right across from him, and I said to Weedy, I said, Weedy, he was showing me that's 14 shots in his gut and his leg. He didn't feel like showing me the gut picture, so he rolled up. I wish I had some lotion for the brother, but it would have made my picture look better. But this is what I got. I said, Weedy, hypothetical. Let's say I send you to Florida. New life. Your own home. You wake up in the morning in your robe, your bobby socks, and some flip-flops. Come out, pick up a newspaper, and when you lift up your head, you see your enemy right across the street. What do? Weedy say, I'll kill him. I said, why? He said, because I don't know what he's thinking. And so we make these assumptions as to what is happening in Chicago. And we listen to the news. Hate the news. But I can tell you this one thing that I've learned about. It's going to be very quick. Is that timing down or going up? It's going up. So when it gets to 20, I'm done.
No, that's the current.
Oh, so that's not good. I need to know what I have left.
We haven't.
I have about what?
We have 20 minutes.
Some LeBron. See, Cleveland is. All right. So, where was I? Weedy. Was I at Weedy? I was in Florida. See, you're with me. What did I say about Florida?
If he looked out and saw his enemy, what would he do?
Right, and I said, we make these assumptions as to we understand why all these shootings. Same thing in Cleveland. 2 weeks ago, I went to the WWW apartments, Wilson apartments. Everybody is afraid of going to the Wilson apartments. I rolled up into the Wilson apartment, came out of the car, walked up to some dude, saw that they were making a music video, put my camera back into the car, went over there, and I said to the cameraman, do you need a director? He's like, word. And so there I am. They had made all these clips of, YouTube video. Yoshi, how they do it? They just dance. And I said, you need an entry shot. So I said, why don't you guys line up yourselves against the rail, and you come down the rail and you dab up, but the camera follow you. And he's like, yes! And that was our entry shot. And we shot Ruddy, the big director, I was like, yeah, and the guy was doing B-roll. I was like, yeah, you need this shot. Big. Guys were like, who him? Never seen him before. He's the director. Boom, I'm good. Then I heard somebody say, let's bring out the irons. I'm like, mm-hmm. Next thing you know, we go deeper into the projects, and I see all these nice, shiny black things coming out. So being the director, I said, the only people that can be here are legal gun owners, because we're going up on YouTube. Can't have you guys face and like, and they were like, okay, right. And like, how are we going to do this? I said, again, we're going to make these little patches, and you're going to weave through, because these are your dogs, and I was good. In my mind, I'm like, tomorrow, I'm coming back to do the album cover. That's what's in my mind. 5 minutes later, woo, 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 20 cops come down. Guys rush off with their irons. Somebody dropped theirs. A 6-year-old girl picked it up. And that's what made the cops mad. And the whole time, they're like roughing up these dudes and da-da-da-da. And nobody says anything to me. And I told the officer, I mean, what about me? I don't look thug enough? Like, Yoshi, hey, you know what I'm saying? I don't look thug enough? And he goes, you didn't run. I'm like, oh, it's as simple as that. So I go, have you ever come over the Wilson Projects without this? Have you ever come down and sit down in the same rail that you're sitting on now with me and say to any one of these guys, these are the laws. Here's the law. You cannot be in a housing project with an open carry. That's the law. They can step off into the street and brandish whatever they want to brandish. Once they're on the project's ground, put it away. Simple as that, you know. But no, because you want to fingerprint them. You want to put your boot in their necks. And so, when I go into these spaces, soccer player, I do go there as an outsider. And I go there with the sensibility that I am here to serve you, to understand you, to glean from you something that's authentic, and not to come in there with a preconceived idea of who I think you are and how the media portray you. And moving on, Kentucky. I was to go to Kentucky and photograph miners. Little did I know that there was a small community in Lynch, Kentucky, where black miners were dying, whether from black coal, old age, or forgetfulness. And so, once I was introduced, because the thing was, when I spoke to this white professor, he said, everybody just come in and take, and they never ever call back, they never. So I went into the community and I found these miners. This is Camp 1. They had 7 camps. I have 2 minutes left. You hear that now? I thought I had 25 minutes left.
We have 25 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes. Let's see if I can do this in 2 minutes. There were 7 camps. I mean, I can't even do it in 2 minutes. This is the only one that's left. And when these guys die, that's it for their story. Wanted to take me up into the hills to show me beer. A Jamaican. I said, you better carry that thing in your hand. And I wanted to show you how small the community is. Everybody in there is a miner. Every wife there is a wife of a miner. It's all about first question. Who can guess the first question I asked when I met these folks? I'm like, boss, you never tried to change the name? No. I'm trying. So this is actually where they meet. It's their old high school, and it says Lynch Colored Public School. And they're trying to preserve it. They've asked me to help them. I've reached out to people in Cleveland who have also art planning, trying to write grants to help them preserve this, because that's all they have. This is it. So this is Cleveland. I'm going to race through it. This is stuff that I've been working on for the past 3 months. I'm going to go through it. Cleveland is just, I hate to use the word refugee until I find a better word, but there are a lot of Africans who are in Cleveland who come to this ball field to play. One of the only places that they get together in the evenings. And it just struck me to watch this guy watch. He just, I mean, even here, I see him as an outsider. Again, I love. This is a tribute to Travon Free. Again, I didn't even see one of the reasons why I say I abandoned the BDE, because I had this whole spiel about black demonstrative, and then the one thing that I hate the most in this world is when liberal people are indifferent. So if you go back to that first sign, nobody in this room knew that sign existed. And there are more signs like that are all over the United States. And Yoshi, come here. I'm just gonna, Yoshi, come here. Everybody meet a Yoshua Roy. Yoshi, come here. So this is you're gonna get a little bit of my politics. I didn't tell you to take a seat. So all of us, we have our social justice, what's that word that we go after, whether it's be LGBTs, climate change, Black Lives Matter, whatever it is. It's all these prongs. Yoshi, open your fingers. Do not close them. And this is what I believe. Take me with you off stage. With that hand. With it open. Grab my hand. Pull me off stage. Open. Open. The hand has to be open. It won't work. Not until, Yoshi, close your hands. Not until we do that. And what does that mean? It means that even though you are one of these prongs, until we find one way to come together, grab my hand. Grab it. No, close. Sorry. Grab my hand like this. Now take me off stage. That's the only time we can move together. I believe we're all focused on our own thing. You can have a seat. Thank you. And I'm just gonna put on the mic and let's go through Cleveland. So this is my Cleveland. This is what I see every day. Donald Black is the photographer whose work is the mural. I promised myself that I'd never use this image, I'd never talk about this image if I don't mention that the artist whose picture's in the back his name is Donald Black. He's an amazing photographer from Cleveland. And this is my self-portrait with a young man that died 5 months ago. And this is just put on the side of the road as a memorial to him. And I love his weapon. It's like, thank you. Oh, yeah, you might need.
So, the last 2 minutes of this talk is going to be me flipping through these photos really quickly. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry, boss.
No. It's all good. My work is not nearly as heavy as Ruddy's, and for obvious reasons, I'm not a professional photojournalist, but photography is something I take very seriously. My background is comedy, television, politics, and it's a reflection of the stuff that I shoot. So, for example, I'm just gonna go over here.
Yes, sir.
Do this thing. Yeah, I'll trade. So as you can see, like the stuff I shoot on the street primarily are things I look for things like this. Me and Ruddy both have an affinity for words and photos, and I'm from Compton, and there are many weapons in Compton, most of them not cameras. And I chose a pen and I chose a camera. And so I shoot three different types of ways. I shoot stuff like this. I'm looking for, obviously, where's that little light? Is that it? Things like this, ladies. And you got the family of women here and things like this. None of these are posed, by the way. These are all things I found on the street. I was actually with Ruddy when this one happened. And if you notice, it says promoting self-hate in women, and you can see the bruises on her shin, which are these are the moments I'm looking for on the street primarily. As a storyteller, I want to tell stories, and I write stories, but I like the way images can portray a story, and I don't have to tell you anything about it. You can take from it what you will. It's the beauty of how people interpret what we write on television, how we write movies, and things like this, where you run into someone's hat, it looks just like someone's afro. And so it's those moments the things that make you laugh, like right now, when you realize what you actually are seeing is what I'm looking for. And it's a bit of a challenge, but I enjoy the challenge. And sometimes you get things like this where you have how would you interpret this image? Did they break up? Did they have a fight? They're in like, what's happening here? Is this an affair? I don't know. But those are the things that I'm looking for, these moments where you can tell a story or people can create a story from a moment that I happen upon or a moment that I find when I'm out. And so getting a little more political, I moved back to LA. I used to live in New York. And there are 53,000 homeless people in LA. And it's enough to fill up Dodger Stadium and have 3,000 people still left outside the stadium. And you see things like this all over the city. And I saw this image, and I was driving down Wilshire, and I stopped to take this picture because it said so much about who we are as a country, where half of those people on the street are veterans and people who fought for this country, who fought for all the things we take for granted every day. And he's using the American flag as the door to the tent that he sleeps in every night. And this guy is still there. Like, he's been there for a couple of months. And again, like with the kind of the image mirroring each other, I took this picture the day after one of my really close friends passed. It's actually kind of in the style of his shooting, very kind of like dark silhouette image, but more street stuff, emotional stuff. His name's Blaine. Really, really good friend. Died as a product of the opioid crisis that we're seeing the country go through now, which is interesting because we care so much about it. And when crack was ravaging our neighborhoods, they threw us all in jail. So the millions of black fathers who never got a chance to get help and see their community treated like it was a national emergency is now the kind of situation we see happening now. And so, unfortunately, it took someone close to me, and I hope we figure it out. But things like this, where, I mean, this says so much to me about modern love and relationships and our addiction to phones, our addiction to getting attention. Like, I mean, I'm guessing she's probably on Instagram while she's actually hugging her boyfriend. This is, again, with words, it's redemption. It's a man standing between angel wings. And I don't unlike Ruddy, like Ruddy is really great at approaching subjects and getting narrative because that's what he does. I like to steal an image. I like to take an image and let people make of it what they will. It's kind of the way I choose to weaponize my camera. As a large black man, it's hard to approach people and get them to actually want to do things. Trust me, I've tried. It kind of forces you into street photography in this way. And again, back to LA, and how we frame words and images. You see, none of us are well until all of us are well. And this is what the city looks like all over the place. And I was also driving when I saw this and stopped to take this picture. This also not posed, just I was in San Francisco and Golden Gate Park, and this was the day of the funeral of Blaine, who I was just telling you about. And this photo, it's a very emotional photo because it reminds me of the time, it reminds me of the moment, and treating cameras as weapons, weaponizing cameras, weaponizing storytelling. I like to infuse some type of hope into the images that I shoot, something that's light, something that can remind you of something that we're going through, but also can like lift you up or give you hope. And you'll notice if you look at any of my other images online, like you'll kind of always see things like that. This, getting into the more political stuff, is from the Kaepernick rally that was in New York at NFL headquarters that I shot for Colin actually, and this guy I saw with his daughter, and I just said, hey, can I take a picture of you and your daughter? I was looking for fathers and families at the event, and she just did that. This was a woman who I did not talk to, but I just stopped and took a picture of her sign. I'll go pretty quickly because time is running out. But I really like when I shoot protests to just get clean signs that have words where you just see, you'll notice later, like the hand holding a sign thing is something that I really like to shoot in these situations. But this was a really, really big protest. And at the time, this was right when Kaepernick started his lawsuit against the NFL. And there was a lot of emotion. There were a lot of people who were very, very upset. And you'll see coming up, there's always detractors who want to interfere in that process. And this guy came looking for a fight. You can see from his nose, he actually got beat up at a rally before this, actually true. And he likes to show up to rallies and provoke people into fighting him. And my favorite thing about this image is kind of tells its own story, but I mean, the look on the face, and him having to protect this guy. Like the cop's literally there to protect him, which is kind of fucked up when you think about it. And just the sea of black support I thought was so beautiful for Colin. And every once in a while someone's not that happy you're taking their picture, but you still get it. She gave me a little side eye, but I got the shot. This photo I love because of the contrast between the message on the sign and this image and the look he's giving him, because I don't know what he's typing, but I mean, he could be telling them yeah, they're acting up, guys. We might want to find a new route home. This one I also love. It kind of reminds me of a sign you would see in the 50s or 60s, but I love the narrative of this happening with this. And yeah, it's a black woman holding the sign. And now we move to the border rallies that I shot. This was a woman with her son. This is after Melania wore the jacket that had the "I don't care" on the back. these little girls were a delight. This is probably my favorite part of the. And this is the. We actually went down to the border and shot at the border, and a lot of people turned out. And down here, this detention center held, I think, 1,000 underage boys who were without parents, and they were in tents with no air conditioning, and it was really, really depressing. But the reason why I like to shoot these events is because for me, it helps me figure out how I feel in these situations by going down and listening to people talk. I do engage with some people. Some people I ask to take pictures, like this one I asked to take a picture of his hat. But it also helps me bring stories back to people who aren't aware of what's going on, because I do have like a large social media following, and it helps me get other people to become aware of some of the issues that are happening in this country that people who choose to be apolitical are avoiding. And this I wholeheartedly believe. And she was very happy to brandish that sign. Uncle Sam showed up. He's currently running for president. And this goes back to the March to Save Our Lives. This is kind of a mix of the two things I like, which is kind of like the symmetry between his hair and their hats, but also Frederick Douglass is not happy about this white man being here. And I think it's pretty appropriate. This, I went to Provincetown to shoot the Carnival Parade, big gay parade, if you guys don't know anything about Provincetown, queer parade. And I think it's important to understand the nature of who's taking a photograph, because I think the person behind the camera also influences how you perceive the image that you're looking at. And I think when you are shooting people who are part of a community you're a part of, there's an extra layer of care and warmth that I think is there that's not present when somebody enters a community and is there purely for scientific reasons or to try to understand people on a very surface level. And so you end up finding moments like this where there's a connection between you and the subject, and they don't see you as purely a documentarian. Another portrait I took of, I was really just in love with all of this. Like, it's just like queer beauty. This image is probably one of my favorites. I think it's probably Ruddy's favorite photo. But again, it goes back to connection. Like you see a person and you form you have an instant rapport with them because you're a part of that community, you're a part of that experience, and you end up getting just like a really great composition of story. All the stripes, that's the stripes, 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 stripes. A lot of stripes happening. This last group is, I went to Tanzania last year working on a movie that I'm still working on, and this group is called the Hadza. They are considered the original people. Like people were born of this village. The oldest human remains ever found is in their valley, the Adichini Valley in Tanzania. They speak a language only they speak, Hadzani. No one else in the world speaks it, but maybe 40 people. It's connected to no other language. And they live in a very, very, very remote part of Tanzania. And we went down and spent some time with them to just kind of understand their lifestyle, who they are as people. And this is just a few of the images I got to go on a hunt with them. And I mean, they are incredible with bows and arrows. It's like unbelievable. And their valley was originally, a couple years ago, actually taken from them by the Prince of Dubai. They sold it to him for $1, actually. And the government, some lawyers from America, sometimes white people are good, fought for them to actually get their valley back from the prince, and now the government has made the land permanently theirs for as long as they exist. Basically, there's only about 1,500 of them left, and they are just really incredible people. Even though, and it's speaking back to connection with people who look like you and feel a level of familiarity. Like I couldn't understand a single word they were speaking, but yet we still understood each other. I could still understand what they were saying to me, and they, being who they are very like weary when white people come around. Like that's just how it is. Because anytime they've had to move up to the point of having their valley completely taken away from them, that's who it was. And so they're not very trusting when white guys in suits or clothes that don't look like theirs come around for good reason. And I think this might be the last one. This is on the Serengeti, and I saw this boy, and I asked could I take his picture, and he stopped. And then after I took the picture, he said no. And so here we are. I still got my picture. These guys, on my last day, I saw kind of on the side of the road hanging out. And in Tanzania, there's a lot of donated clothing from America. So you'll see people wearing Patriots T-shirts, unfortunately. Oh, no, good, actually good, because they lost. I mean, so they have to ship the shirts. Blah, blah, blah. You'll see people wearing Budweiser and Subway and all these other products that they send. But a lot of the clothes, I noticed the males in Tanzania do not care about color or what's actually on a shirt. So there's, like, you'd see guys wearing shirts with hearts on them, and they look like the baddest ass dudes you've ever seen, and they just don't care. So it's not, I found that interesting just about the culture in general, that you can see like he's got his like fox sweater on, and like he's got pink pants on, and like they just don't care. And yeah, that's, did I make the time? Is that good?
Yeah, you're good. I think Vivian would agree with me that when something comes from America to quote unquote third world country, it elevates your status. It doesn't matter what it is.
It does.
Um, yeah.
When you donate the clothes that you donate to those boxes that are not like the big organizations, the ones you just find on the street, they sell them by the pound to business people in Tanzania and India. So when you're in TZ and you're walking on the street, as you found out, you'll see the most random big box type stores from America, from North
Yeah.
America, Canada, and US that would be considered super cheap clothes to us, and that we threw away. Right about they literally don't care what they do.
Yeah, there was I didn't put the picture in, but there was a little boy who had a Little Miss Sunshine shirt on. I thought was like the coolest thing because he just didn't care. He was like hanging out with his boys. He's got a tank top on. It's got like yellow and pink hearts and a Little Miss Sunshine caricature in the middle. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, it's an interesting dichotomy of like, yeah, they love Gucci. I don't know. You see that? Like they really do. Like like literally when we were out in the valley, like one of the women, I kid you not, she had a pair of Gucci slides. Don't know where she got them from, but she had them.
So we were gonna talk some more, but I think we only have 5 minutes left. So we're gonna.
No, we get. Okay.
What? That's like lifetime up in here. We're just gonna open it up to questions, and we'll talk as the question. We'll just flow as the questions come. By the way, that's my best friend. I mean, my best female friend, because Ali. I have to give Ali some props. As I grew up with her. Vivian has never left me. Every step of the way, she has been there. So.
I'll ask you the first question.
Huh?
I'll ask you the first question.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why, dude?
But like, don't answer for a long time.
Okay.
All
right,
ready?
I got it.
We talk about this a lot. Why? Like, explain why you think it's important for black people to take pictures of black people.
Woo, Lord, you can't do that to me. That's like all day. You said it. Um, Somebody said to me that you photograph Jamaicans differently. You photograph them with love. Um, a dude from Cleveland said the same thing. He said, when I look at your stuff from Jamaica and I look at your stuff from Cleveland, they're the same. Like you put love in these images because I know where you are. You're not in Shakers Heights. You're in Slavic Village. You're not in West Cleveland. You're in East Cleveland. Like I can tell. And it's simply this. You do not know what this means. And Vivian knows what this means. You hear a music comes on. And I play, if there are 10 Jamaicans in here, and they do not identify themselves, and I put on a Vibes Cartel, Vivian, what's the first thing that they would do? Just show me. I didn't have to ask. All 10 would go. That is intrinsic between people who are alike. The other does not know that. It's a nuance that you don't know. So I don't care how beautiful the image is. You don't know this. And that comes from a very silent place. And that's why I remember I was 30 seconds. I remember I was in Canada at, what was it? Contact. All Caribbean artists. And that question was asked. And me being the diplomat, stupid, was like, of course, anybody can photograph, come to Jamaica and photograph dancehall if they want. They're free. And of course, there was a white dude on the end who showed 8 dancehall images. Mind you, Ruddy has been photographing dancehall for 5 years. This dude showed some tear-up pants. The first words of his mouth was, his grandmother tore up his pants. And I go, hey, can I pull back what I said about? You have to be a part of the culture. 10 seconds. Barbara Tenenbaum asked me this same question. What theme did you come to Cleveland to photograph? I said, none. I said, I'm an outsider. I do not know Cleveland. I'm here to understand Cleveland before I come up with themes. I'm just driving around. I'm taking pictures, making pictures. I don't have themes. Done. Let me ask you a question, sir, and you can take all the time in the world. How important is it to use your platform to inform, because you're very vocal on Twitter? How important is that to getting your message out to the masses?
For me, everything I do artistically is connected to who I am as a man, as a person.
Oh, sorry. There's an addendum.
Okay.
Trump uses Twitter. How do you counteract that, his verbiage? Just add that to that.
Yeah, I mean, I connect who I am as an artist to who I am as a person. I think trying to make those things separate is one, impossible, but two, dangerous, because you end up mixing messages. But the things I care about politically are infused in my work. So my first job was at The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. I was writing jokes about politics because I cared about political issues, and he had the biggest megaphone of anyone on television in that area. And that translates into using my privilege of the spaces that I'm in, whether it's with sometimes actual presidential candidates or actual former presidents and people of all kind of higher status, to talk about issues. Like I cornered the mayor of LA at an event about homelessness because it's really fucking bad. And I asked him, I was like, what are you really doing about this? Because like what I notice is when I'm in West Hollywood, the homeless tents stop at the border of Beverly Hills. How does that happen? Why does that happen? How is it that when you cross into Beverly Hills, the streets are wider, the sidewalks are bigger, the streets are cleaner, and there's no one sleeping on those streets. But you go the other direction all the way down. People half naked sleeping under bus stops, people sleeping literally on the street. A man died on the street right before I left LA a couple of days ago. And so for me, I can't look at the world and not and experience that pain and not bring that into what I'm putting out into the world. So if I'm any TV show, I don't care what the subject matter is, I'm going to bring something from the world that I'm experiencing into it. And in terms of combating like Trump, it's like he's using the same weapon that I'm using. And the difference is whether you know the power or whether you know whether you can interpret the lie, whether you can interpret the fallacy in the way that he uses the weapon. Because a lot of people can, a lot of people can and choose not to care about it, and then some people just don't. And you want to believe that a smaller number of people are unaware that the bullets in his gun are blanks, and you want them to understand that the bullets he's firing, there's nothing in them. But at the same time, hearing a gunshot incites people. So the people who hear those gunshots, the people driving over people in Charlottesville, the people who are out terrorizing black neighborhoods all over again, those people, they don't need to know that he fired an empty shot. All they need to know is the gun went off and gave them permission to go do the thing that they wanted to do in the first place.
Yes, sir.
Gordon Parks wrote a book called Choice of Weapons. And so I'm interested in what drew you to the weapon of your choice.
Good question.
You want me? I grew up around a lot of actual weapons, and I only saw them kill people. And from an early age, I recognized that I like to put my feelings on paper. I like to translate what I was experiencing in Compton in the 90s, late 80s and 90s into words. And I had no attraction to the actual weapon because I never saw anything good come from it. I was watching my friends and family go to jail. I watched my uncle get shot like multiple times. I've seen literally seen drive-bys where groups of people have been gunned down. And it only made me less attracted to that. But what I realized was there was a power in words when you read people like Gordon Parks, or you read people like Malcolm X, Bayard Rustin, and all the people from that time. James Baldwin, one of my favorite books is The Fire Next Time. I keep it with me like a Bible. Like when you realize, oh, there's a different weapon, a long-lasting weapon, a weapon that will outlast bullets and a gun, in how I say things, what I put out into the world creatively. And then on top of that, adding imagery, which the power of an image can move the world. I mean, from seeing a little baby laying in the shallow waters of the beach in Israel, Palestine, like to seeing migrants coming over on rafts and people dying, or seeing like how a dog lunging at a black man during the civil rights movement literally changed the face of the movement. And it was just an image. It was just a snap of time. Or the Edmund Pettus Bridge, when they were crossing the bridge, and the image of people being beat by the police. When I realized those were things that I could weaponize, but also give myself the longevity to continue using them, that was what attracted me to them.
You know, for me, everything starts and stops. I mean, somebody in Cleveland asked me, "What's my legacy?" And I said, "Yoshi and Mosey." My first thought always is, where is this going to live? It's not in our curriculum. Our schools do not have stories about us. Um, and so writing and taking pictures is an obligation. Again, I'm telling you, I was interviewed last week, so this question kept coming up. And I said to the interviewer, I said, there's a little girl 100 years from now sitting down just like this, looking into the darkness, waiting for me to finish the work. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I get up every day for that little girl. Because I know as soon as I'm done, she can move. And so it's not the house, it's not the falling in love with Land Rovers, it's not the money, it's not the Leicas. It is the fact that I know that there's a little boy and a little girl sitting down, peering into the darkness 100 years from now, waiting for me to finish so that they can start.
You feel when you go back and reflect on these pictures? Is it the same thing, or do you learn something more and more and more as you look?
I'm gonna attach a question and throw it over to Travon because I want to ask you this question while you were talking. And it is for I'm gonna pull back and assume my role as an outsider, as a Jamaican, by attaching myself to that question. Whose job is it to clear up homelessness in your community? And that's for anybody in this room. Whose job is it? Is it government or is it ours?
I think it's a combination of both because
Because
our
if we do it,
community,
it's socialism.
our community is I think our community is an extension of our government. Our government is an extension of our community. The leaders that we elect are typically people who we believe can do the things that turn our communities into the places we want to live in. And so while I alone can't get 50,000 homeless people off the streets, and our community itself can't just find places for them to go because a lot of them have mental illness, things that they're going through and need actual help with that you sometimes you want to help them so bad and you can't. I think it's a concert. It's a concerted effort between the two of us to figure out a solution with our resources. There's a lot of rich people in LA, believe me. A lot of rich people with a lot of
rich
money.
people in New York too.
And I wholeheartedly believe if they wanted to fix the problem, they could. And it goes back to that border. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't come into your neighborhood, so you don't concern yourself with it. Because 2 blocks away from that Beverly Hills border in West Hollywood, Trump had a fundraiser 3 months ago. And so they know they have to. The only way in and out of Beverly Hills on both sides are those people, are homeless people. So it's not that they're unaware. It's just we haven't gotten ourselves to the point where there's enough pressure put on those people in society and the government together to actually do something more than what's actually happening. And to like your question, for me, when I go back and I look at images, I see them when I take them, and I try not to like get too wrapped up in them in the moment. And I go home and I go through and I look, and there's that first look, and then it's not really until the second or third look where you really can feel like what you've done or you hope you accomplish what you set out to accomplish. And so when I shoot like protests and rallies and I see like an image composed of like 5 young black women and 1 black man in the center, and I can see what's on their face and what I think they're feeling, like it makes me emotional sometimes. And it's also part of the reason why I'm so in love with pursuing getting that out into the world. And because I want people to experience that same thing, I want people to see us. I want us to see us. Because if you don't see yourself, you don't know that you exist. You don't know what you can do. And if you don't, I don't know very many like working black photojournalists like Ruddy. Like I just don't. And it's a shame that people like him don't exist more in those spaces and are telling those stories. And you have to fight to get those, to get those stories told.
I've been bro. I'm trying.
So I mean, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about
Answer your
him.
question. Sorry, to answer your question, my family will tell you. I come back home and I'm depressed. And it takes a while. It takes friends. It takes riding. It takes a lot to pull myself up. Um, Mainly because I don't see the end. And that's why the little girl is so important to me. Nothing else can motivate me. If I think about anything, if I think that there's going to be a solution, I will stay rooted in the bed. If I understand that this work does not belong to me, that I have to do it, I'm obligated to doing it, that hopefully 100 years from now, our brothers and sisters, black, brown, and non-white, will start to see themselves everywhere. Just because everybody in this room is engaged in populating the waves with what we look like. I have to, I'm doing it for her, like him or her, up there. But when I look at the image, it depresses me that we have to weaponize ourselves. It depresses me that there's so much indifference. It depresses me that that sign is still there today. It's a depressing wave. And if everybody in here is this educated, imagine the brothers and the sisters who didn't finish high school. You know what we do? You know what we said? We said that they're thugs. We said they're ratchet. We find a way to other them and then do this. Kick them off the cliff. Or we shove them in a project and then we drive past. Somebody in the audience asked me once, a white woman, so what should we do? I was ready for that answer. I was ready with the answer. I was like, where do you live? She told me. I said, do you pass a project on your way home? She's like, yeah. I said, is there a supermarket in that project? I said, no. I said, when was the last time you wrote to your city council representative and said, those people deserve whole food? What the other one name?
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. You know what I'm saying? Malcolm X say, white folks, you can't help me. You go back to your communities and you let your family members and your neighbors and your friends know that they're not the enemy. But that's not happening. So to answer your question, I use these images as bridges, like I walk across the bridge. Like we have built bridges. Everybody in here have built a bridge. I'm sure. We just need to use them, walk across them. Yes.
With respect to homelessness and poverty,
Yes, sir.
if our government is failing us, isn't it up to us? It is up to us to run, yes?
That's what I was trying to get at.
Yes, sir. You can get them in the room where nobody else is listening,
Facts.
right? How do you get them to stand up when you stand up?
Amazing question. You want to go?
I mean, I feel like just from my experiences, everybody is not capable of leading, but everybody's capable of fighting. And sometimes people are just waiting for somebody to just light the powder keg. And sometimes it's not because they don't want to lead, they just don't know how. And some people have all the fire and the ability to lead, but they're not necessarily, the edges are still a little rough. And so I think it takes people like you from just listening to you, you sound like a leader. And I think part of that rounding up your army is connecting people to the thing that they are missing and what standing up and fighting for actually gets them. Because sometimes people know that they're hurting, but they don't know what's hurting. So they need the x-ray. They need to know what bone is broken and why. They know they hurt, but they don't know why. And when you can connect a person directly to the why don't I have food on my table? Why are there homeless people on my streets? Why is the gun violence just here? Or like, why is a living wage $7 in some states and $5 in others, which is still ridiculously low? Like, some people don't have the education or the awareness or the information that connects them to what the actual problem is. You have a broken forearm and you need a cast. That dude has the cast. You got to go fight him for the cast. And they need people like you or people like us to say, I know who can fix it. And I just need you to come with me. I just need you to ride with me. And I've seen that happen in my community and in other places. And yeah, I mean, I don't know the perfect way to inspire every individual, but I think it starts with letting people know or making them aware of the thing that's hurting them directly.
I want to thank Photoville, Laura, Leica, Travon, this beautiful audience. It was a thing.
Yeah. Thank you guys.